Save your pennies, grow with bennies.
Kia ora team, I'm Benny. Welcome to another episode of Grow with Bennies. Today we're talking about compost. Now it's often said that in just a handful of really good compost, there are more living organisms than there are human beings on Earth. Now that's 7.9 billion. But what is really good compost? Well, for starters, you need the right materials, the right ingredients, and we'll talk about those in a moment. But for 7.9 billion organisms to live, thrive and survive in your compost, they need the right conditions. Now you notice there's never any bugs on the surface of your compost. That's because they like it dark. They like it nice and warm, and they don't like it too wet or too dry, they like it moist. Now, if you take 7.9 billion organisms and you put them somewhere that is dark and warm and moist, they're going to be partying hard and getting it on. Your compost pile is effectively your love shack. It's an orgy where everybody's having fun and getting some, provided you've got the right conditions and the right materials. So what are the right materials? Well, as always, if there's something we don't know or something we forgot, it's okay to stop and say, wait, what? Now, good compost has two main components. What we call green material, these are rich in nitrogen, and what we call brown material, these are rich in carbon. Now, your green material can be things like certain food scraps or lawn clippings. The brown materials can be things like dried leaves or twigs or finely cut branches, even shredded newspaper. Now, the proportion of green to brown varies depending on who you ask. Some people say 4:1 carbon to nitrogen. Now, I'm not a smart man, and I'm sure he's not a mathematician. I tend to layer my compost with a layer of green, a layer of brown, a layer of green, a layer and so on. Just like a lasagna. Which, if you had food scraps from lasagna, I wouldn't put those on your compost. You would invite the wrong sort of party goers to the love shack. Yep, well, I couldn't agree with me more on that one. Putting things like meat and dairy products on your regular compost will attract things like rats, mice, cats, and you don't want that. So instead, I save those things and I put them onto my Bokashi Compost. Now, Bokashi is an anaerobic form of composting. I'll do a video on it further on down the trail. But for now, I'm going to sow myself some alfalfa seeds while we sort of wrap things up here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sow these alfalfa seeds in this Benny's Original Microgreens planter box. I'm going to lightly cover them and I'm going to water them. Well, that does it, folks. I'm Benny Ward. Subscribe if you're on board. The best way to grow is to leave a comment down below. I'll catch you next time on Grow with Bennies.